Welcome to my realm. I'm Tami Jorden, and this is Butterfly Days, the podcast that proves you're not past your prime. You're living in it right now because women don't have expiration dates. Butterfly Days is a celebration of the extraordinary potential of GenX and Boomer women. Throughout history, women have shared wisdom to uplift and empower one another. And you're about to learn hard-earned wisdom and best-kept secrets from interesting, inspiring women. So if you're ready to embrace your butterfly season with confidence, find joy in the present, and create a legacy that matters, you're in the right place. No more holding back. Let's spread our wings now. Here we go. Lisa Copeland is an internationally recognized love coach and dating expert who empowers women over 50 to find love, confidence, and fulfillment. That's why we're speaking with her today. Since 2012, she has pioneered a space that was once ignored, which I love, creating signature tools such as the Quality Man template and her flagship Love After 50 Attraction Blueprint. She's also the author of the Amazon favorite, The Winning Dating Formula for Women Over 50. Get that if you don't have it. And her expertise has been featured on, get ready, Dr. Phil, HuffPost, USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg. Lisa's mission is simple and powerful. She wants to guide women over 50 to attract the right partner and to create extraordinary lives with joy, passion, and lasting love. And if that does not align with what all of us here at Butterfly Days want, I don't know what is. So we are really thrilled today to have Lisa Copeland join us. And Lisa, I cannot tell you, when I told people that I was going to speak with you, you cannot believe I got so many questions, and they were hilarious because they were divided by the unmarried women gave me things they want to know, and they invariably begin with this question: where do you find the good ones? Right? And the married women invariably said this: who wants to date again? And maybe you exist somewhere in that space, Lise.
Well, yes. Well, I think married people can't imagine dating again. They don't have to if they're married. And I don't think anyone ever thought that they would be dating again because, our parents stuck through marriages through thick and thin, and the following generations are not willing to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's how this happened. And sometimes I think that just that long-term thing doesn't always work anymore. People outgrow people. Everyone's growing at different rates. And I know where I was in college, when I met my kid's father is way different than who I am now. And if you can't evolve together, then it's really hard to stay connected. And I think that's what's happened. So that's why, so many people are out there dating. It just unfortunately from loss too, where a spouse passed away.
Widowhood.
But I would say for most divorced people, it just didn't work. And a lot of women actually start a divorce. They just want a different life.
A different way to go at it. And, the thing that strikes me, like when I was sort of reading some of the stuff, is I thought to myself, this is not dating at 20, 30, maybe even 40. This really, because you're not looking generally to start a family over 50. Maybe they're the odd people who are, but generally you're not. So if you're just starting out, how do you frame it so that you're best set up to end up with an experience that's beautiful and helpful and gets you a little closer to where you want to be?
So, let's put the cards on the table, so to speak. I would love to tell you that everybody that goes out there has a beautiful next relationship. What is more common is they have practiced relationships.
I love this.
We often attract the same person we left. And just in different clothes, different hair, different shoes. I loved your expression. It's true because that is what is familiar to us. And that's what feels good. And so we attract that in again. And one of the first things I have women do long before they put a profile up is to do what I call a pattern chart. And that's looking at the different types of men that they were attracted to and to see what are the red flags. What didn't work? What did work that you want again?
Yeah.
And the thing is we go out there with those goals. You mentioned it, when we were younger, we went for goals of families, careers, dogs, cats, all that kind of thing. Today, it's really about pleasure and having fun. But often we're looking for who we wanted in our 20s, late teens and
Yeah.
20s, not really what we want today because most women don't have that awareness. They just know what they wanted then.
Yeah.
And it's not the same.
Well, it's funny because we sort of think, well, I know what I like, and it really does go to your 20s and 30s. But I'm telling you, the one huge benefit that I could think of in dating over 50 is that you could realize that you need somebody who's already been housebroken. You know what I'm saying?
Ah. Oh, that's really subjective.
Or not.
Let me give you an example of
All
that.
right.
I was married to my kid's father.
Mhm.
We were married for 24 years. I was young when I got divorced. I was 45 or 46. I mean, I was really young. I'd been married a long time.
Mhm.
And, he was housebroken for someone else, but it's not that. What it is this other person and they met each other's needs much better
Yes.
than we did
Yes.
at that point in life.
Yeah.
And then I got into a second marriage. Um, actually, some of the traits were the same and a relationship in between. This is when I broke up in that second marriage because that was intense chemistry.
Yeah.
And it just felt so good. But I mixed up lust and love
Yeah.
big time and we got married like a year after meeting. We got engaged like 3 months. We had no business doing that. And there were so many red flags and I just did not see them. And so after that marriage, this is when I started this pattern chart of looking at why I dated men. And we usually, believe it or not, we date family of origin members in different bodies
Oh,
to work out our
wow.
stuff. Mhm.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that.
Uh-huh. And when I was young and my sister said to me, you married mom. That was with my kid's dad. I go, you're crazy. But yes. So my first husband, a guy in between the two husbands, and my second husband, and I even had it. I had an issue from family of origin. They all had it too.
Yeah.
Because it's why people romanticize and go, oh my God, I'm going to fall in love. And yes, you can,
Of
but
course.
you have to get your can only attract from where you're at. So if you're holding on to wounds, you're going to attract someone that will pick at those wounds so you can heal it.
Wow. I mean, that's great to think about, though. You can only attract where you're at. I mean, I think that that's darn fine motive to take a look at yourself before you go looking. Do you find a lot of women are still trying to do that thing? It's that idiot Jerry Maguire line, you complete me. They
Oh,
still want somebody else to do that. Because in our 20s, I think that's a and 30s, a large part of our myth is that there is an other half and then we shall be whole. Does that continue into later life dating?
I think it can. And by the way, I don't want to sound negative. I've had lots of clients remarry in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. I've had clients be in long-term relationships, living together, living apart. And so back to your question, though, I do, because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
thought, oh my God, sounding like it can't happen. And yes, it very, very much can happen. So this, you complete me. So here's what I suggest to women. I say, forget the chemistry. So many women will sit down in front of a guy and they go, I don't feel it. I just don't feel it. Well, all you're feeling and hunting for is hormones in your body. That's all chemistry is. And chemistry, that kind of chemistry makes us trust someone before they're necessarily trustable
Yeah.
because we feel so good. You know?
Yeah. This must be it. Yeah.
Yes. So I've had clients one that I love, her story is she had just moved to a new place. This guy, she got online and a new city actually, and they went out and she thought, no way, he's such a dud. And so, but he said to her, she said, I'm not going to, this is not romantic, but he said, well, how about I show you around the city? We can just be friends. And that's another
Yeah.
relationship, by the way. Relationships, I mentioned those other relationships you can do, and you can also do friends with benefits. You can get hurt, a boyfriend, a friend. Guys don't have to fit in your life anymore as just a husband. You have lots of options that you didn't have when you were
Wow.
younger. Yeah. So anyway, so he started taking her around and they started like once or twice a week and it increased to like 3 times a week. And she found herself falling in love with him. And it turned out he was a great guy. But I think what happens is we're looking for this instant attraction. We're looking for faults to protect our hearts because many times in divorce we've been hurt. And so we don't give people a chance. And this goes both ways, men and women.
That makes so much sense. I think about especially those of us who have a little bit of maybe perfectionism or overachiever in our mix, or who just, I've been divorced and it's a Holocaust because it's just scorched earth for whatever were the dreams and your life before, right? You must
Mhm.
completely start over. And even if that's long term for the best, going through it is painful. And I think it would be difficult not to really want that next relationship to be so good that you never make those mistakes again. You know what I mean? Like somewhere in your head, if you cut out these guys early on, then you'll just get right to Mr. Right and you guys can keep going and you can go back to what you wanted, which was a companionable, loving relationship. But that's not always how life works, is what I'm thinking.
After my first divorce, I had this vision. My Prince Charming, I grew up with Cinderella, Snow
Yes.
White, Sleeping Beauty,
All the fairy
all
tales.
those, all the fairy tales, would come in, swoop me off my feet, pay for everything. Um, I wouldn't have to spend any of my money. He would spend all of his, not mine, or whatever I had.
Right.
I wouldn't have to contribute, and we would never argue.
Yeah.
It's like
If you
I
get that,
had
let
this.
me know.
Yeah, I had this unbelievably unrealistic vision. But yeah, we always think in some ways the grass is greener elsewhere. And am I fine that I was divorced? Yes, we were growing in different directions. Absolutely. But I was very unrealistic. And I think a lot of us have that fairy tale. I'll fall, he'll wake me with the apple,
Yeah.
or wait, she
Kiss
ate
my
the
cheek
apple,
or
didn't she?
whatever.
And he had
Yeah.
to kiss.
Yeah. And I'll never want
And
again.
right. And this is why women fail so much at dating. They are looking for exactly what you said. I know what I'm looking for. And
Mm,
it's usually things like what I call perceived high value qualities, where they're looking for someone who might run like they do, or they're looking for someone who loves Netflix binging or
yeah.
whatever it
Whatever.
is.
Right.
And those are not what make a relationship. What we really want to be doing is looking for values that match. And that's what gives the potential for a relationship to work. You can have a whole qualities list. The guy could have 100% of the
Right.
qualities, and it still can't work because you deal with life in different
Yeah.
ways.
No, and you know what?
Hmm.
Midlife women, maybe better than any other dating segment, actually know that. We broads now realize if if things don't line up well, it's not going to go well. And yet there's still, I hear amongst my single friends, they still want him to be hot and a great breadwinner and all of the things. Not that any of those things are bad, but I've always been
No.
concerned if you focus on externals, by the time you get to that, creamy center, it's going to be an issue for you. Because
Right.
maybe somebody doesn't look perfect or their story isn't perfect, but they're an extraordinary human. who knows how to rise and who knows how to take care of a lady, or in particular, someone he cares for. And you're throwing him out right up front because he doesn't look a certain way. And actually, this leads into something I did want to ask you because I had many, many women ask me, is it true that men want to date younger? Hold on to that idea because I want to know the answer to that. But I want to pair it with this. My What I saw that was interesting is a lot of women wanted that hotness, right? We definitely want to still have good sex, blah, 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 all that. But at the same time, they were really mad if a guy judged them on their age or their weight or their lines on their face, their age. How do those things that weren't factors when we were young women or young men, how does that play out? The external goodies section of the dating world.
So we live in a society that is all fake of how people really look. I mean, everything now can be just totally
Yep.
changed. And it used to be like, airbrushing, things like that. No, it's not even that anymore.
Wow.
It's just totally changed. It's unrealistic. And what that's done, I think probably more for younger, especially, it's made people have to think they have to be
Yeah.
perfect to get what they want. So I think the real basis comes, or the real foundation comes from feeling really good about yourself, which
Mm,
can be very hard in a world with social media where people are always looking like they get out of bed looking fantastic.
right.
Who does? Nobody does. I- so there are unrealistic expectations about, what somebody should look like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an inside job first. I always
Love
tell
that.
women you have to heal. You have to heal from that relationship you were in.
Mm,
And then you have to come back into feeling good about yourself and to really check in about limiting beliefs you might hold. Like
yeah.
some of the things you said, those are limiting beliefs. And, men only date younger women. Not always true. I'll come back to that. But there's no good men out there. Yes, there are. You may not be able to see them or you're looking for the wrong things now in a
Yeah.
guy. Those limiting beliefs, if those are our beliefs, that's our reality. That's what shows up.
So
And
true.
then we don't get what we want. hmm So it really starts inside about feeling good about yourself. And because like I've said, I cannot emphasize this enough, you can only attract from where you're at. So if you don't feel good about yourself, you're going to like these hot guys that are crappy.
Yep.
They're not all crappy because they're hot, but they're not going to like you because you don't feel good about yourself in the first place.
Well, you're a setup for a user if you don't feel good about yourself.
Yes. So I always tell women when a guy tells you no or he doesn't want to date you, he's not rejecting you personally. We take that personally because we want
Oh,
everyone to love us.
right.
It's just you don't fit the picture of who he wants, and many times men don't fit the picture of who you think you
Yep.
want, and you say no to them.
Yeah.
So, but we get really hurt because like I said, we want everyone to love us.
Hmm.
And we're people pleasers,
Yeah.
which is, whether we like them or not, they still gotta like us. And yeah, but that's something you want to get rid of.
Yeah. Well, and take a look at that
Yeah.
because that's not just going to serve you in dating to get past that. That's going to set you up for a much richer middle life experience anyway. Is to be
Yes.
one of the things that I teach is that the one of the like the first pillar of midlife growth for women, because we were often socialized that everybody external, family, friends, faith, culture, work, they all told us if we were good enough. And when you crest 50 and your hormones take that dive, it's one of the first times in your life that you may have a genuine opportunity to begin to decide if you like you and what you
Mhm.
think is good about you, and to let your validation come from that point. Because if you go into dating with that old mindset that the guy has to choose me, like you don't believe it, wholly within yourself, I just picture you as really gonna get hurt. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, because as women, we do carry "I'm not enough."
Yeah,
And it's really challenging, especially because when we were younger, we might have been rejected by a high school boyfriend or
sure.
a guy we liked, or a teacher might have told us something, or somebody told us something that only reinforced "I'm not enough."
Right.
Even people that look beautiful have "I'm not enough" stuff going on. You'll read it about models who say that. They just don't feel they're enough, and they're gorgeous. So it is an inside job.
Yeah.
All of this is really an inside job. It's healing. But so someone may say, well, I don't necessarily want to do a lot of this inside work. Can I still meet someone? Yes, you can. You can meet,
Anything is
people are
possible.
out there. Yeah, it's just that we don't give people a chance. We look for their faults. And I tell women, pick when you go on every date, look for three good things about the man you're talking to. And when you do this, it will change your perspective. Instead, because when you're looking for faults and this imaginary checklist in your
Yes.
head of what could go wrong,
Oh, that's so good. You're automatically aiming to notice bads instead of genuine lovely things. Is that here's what I wonder, because it goes back to our question about younger men desiring younger women. I wonder about the men that are in the dating pool out there. I wonder if they would prefer a woman who has a good sense of herself or somebody who wants to be dependent on him. What do you think?
okay, let's first address younger women, and then we'll come to that. You may have to remind me exactly what your question
All
is
right.
again. But I would say a lot of men do try younger women.
Mm,
They come out, divorces and whatever, and they try. A lot of younger women have no interest in them because they don't want to date their granddad or their father. Unless they have daddy issues,
yeah.
they usually don't want to do that. But there are women that have had fathers abandon them,
Yeah.
and they will go for an older guy. And if the guy's really wealthy too,
Yeah.
younger women will go for that too.
Yeah.
So what I've seen happen for a lot of men is they try it, they find they don't share history,
You've got
and
no
it's very
cultural reference
challenging.
points.
Right, right. And they don't share history. They're really into different things. And then they come back, a lot of them come back to more within their age range. Not all, but a lot do. But they try it. I mean, you have to experience it to get that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And listen, I
yeah,
mean, they're coming from a cultural narrative that the younger the chick, the hotter your value or your, whatever.
yeah,
So it's just as human as anything about the way that we think about things, I think, as well. They were sold that story that how hot or how young or how beautiful the woman that you can get is says something about you, somehow validates you.
right,
That's what they got fed.
right. Yeah, they did. And the funny thing is, they don't realize people are rolling their eyes at it. They're
Yeah.
like, what's with
Buddy,
him?
come on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people do. They think they're hot stud now, and people are all going,
Yeah.
you know.
Side
But
eye.
I mean, yeah. But the interesting thing is younger men are liking older women, so that's become a trend
I've
too.
seen that.
And yeah, so it's. I had a client. She married a guy 10 years younger than her. She had a
Wow.
hard time.
Yeah.
In the beginning, she thought, "Why would he want me?"
Yeah.
Because there we are again. I'm not enough.
Right. Right.
So, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so it all comes back inside what we're open to and how we feel about ourselves.
I love that.
I know you asked me something else in there too,
Oh,
and I
I
figured we'd have
asked,
to come back to it.
do you hear, like, when I asked women, what do you think guys are looking for? They list skinny bodies and no lines on your face and things like this. But what I read that men over 50 are looking for was more along the lines of kind eyes, someone who is supportive, someone who is fun. And that caught me off guard because I think I had men pegged as being more surface than that. What would you say? Like, what are you seeing on the streets? In the trenches,
You know,
Lisa.
Okay, let's first the eyes, the smile. Men are very attracted to women who smile because it gives off warmth.
Yeah.
But I think as we started this conversation, you said a lot of women are looking for a hot guy.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of nice looking guys. And, my client that's, with the dud guy who thought he was
Hmm.
just duddy everywhere and now thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's as we get to know a man,
Yeah.
he could become really cute and handsome to
Yes.
us. So all right, the really hot guys, they are oftentimes bad boys. They're always pursuing women. Women are all over them, and they're not necessarily going to be there for you. And it comes back to what do you really want? Everyone's looks over time wear down.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
how
true.
it
I mean,
is.
even Rob Lowe, and God knows that man is so beautiful. But I mean, he looks older now, of all
Yeah.
things. And if Rob Lowe could, girl, we are all gonna do it.
Yes. So it's important, like I'm not saying, oh, go out and date someone ugly. It's
No.
just get realistic. I mean, I can remember, I was healing from a divorce, and I can
Hmm.
remember my dad was still alive, and we went to this Chinese restaurant, and we're having great food, and I look up and I see this guy, maybe in his 30s or 40s. He had longer hair because that's what I grew up with, and I thought,
Hmm.
that's what people are looking for, what they used to have back in the day. And
Yeah.
and so that's the problem. And then everybody says, I see my dad, my grandfather, my uncle, or I see my mom, my aunt,
Yes.
online because we do not see ourselves aging.
Right.
And we just don't see it because we see ourselves in the mirror every day. But
Yeah.
I remember in my late 40s, this was before Facebook and social media and stuff. And there was a reunion, and they did post, yeah, a high school reunion. I never go to them, but
I
they posted
snickered. Sorry.
pictures.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, these people look so
Who
old.
are these old people? I know. We just had a milestone, and there were pictures posted. And if you went to either one of my high schools, you're all crazy beautiful, for the record. But I was like, wait, these are my peers. We're starting to look a little middle agey in
Like
the
our
old school
parents.
sense. Yes,
I
yes.
thought they looked like their parents.
Yes, yes, and it's
So,
funny because we have so many stories from the culture about that in our mind, and maybe that's part of the problem.
well, so I called my son to come and look.
Oh,
It was an email. I
yeah,
said, how old do you think these people are?
yeah. What did
And
he
he
say?
said, late 40s. And I said, do I look like them? And he said, no comment. Because he didn't have the same reference with them that
Of
I had.
course, of
To
course.
me, they
Although I'm
were
just surprised
all
he
from high
didn't fake a
school.
seizure at that point, because when you said, "Do I look like that?" Oh, honey,
Yeah, no, he was
no
okay. And
comment.
it was yeah, because we don't see it. So we're going online, we're
Yeah.
looking for the guys in the past. I remember my high school boyfriend, he was a bad boy though, but don't get involved with them. But he was really hot. And then
Hmm.
he was in these pictures. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. I don't live where I grew up. And I thought, oh my God, he looks just like his dad. He just looked so old. And I remember the guy dated in with dark hair and
Yeah.
painter's pants on, or
Yeah. Oh my
jeans or
gosh.
whatever.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going, who is this person? So this is part of the problem we have
Yes.
is that expectation of looking really young and really hot. And
Yeah.
hot does not create a great relationship. Your heart, who
Sorry, it
you
does
are
not.
inside does. Yeah. And it's
No.
important to start looking for heart connections. And that takes time, not chemistry. It's faith, heart
Oh,
connection.
heart connections, and did you say similar values? Was that the other one?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Similar values, heart connection. I mean, you're talking character here. You're looking for someone
Right.
with a fine character. You know what? If you want a companion, into old age, you cannot go wrong with a good heart, a nice character, and kindness. I mean, I don't even care if they're not attractive. They become beautiful
Yeah.
when those things are at play. I always think of I don't know where you were raised, but I'm Southern, and one of the little sayings that we have, my mom would tell me when we were little is, "Don't you be ugly. Don't act ugly,"
Oh,
because it references
mhm.
pretty is as pretty does. So they're saying if your behavior is ugly, it doesn't matter how gorgeous you are, people will think you're ugly.
Right.
Conversely,
Right. Absolutely true. And if you really look at your married friends and look at the husband and
the
think,
range.
would I date, would I say yes to him? Would I swipe right on a dating site?
Would
Not
she if she saw him
necessarily.
now?
It's because you may love them to pieces, but if you just look at their picture and that's all that happens on an online profile, and that's a problem in and of itself. A guy you swipe left, you met in real life, you might go, oh my God, this guy's great because you see his
Yeah.
personality. But that's
Yeah.
why I say just picture your married friend's husbands on a dating site and think, would I swipe right or left? You got to take the personality out. You have to do it just from
Yes.
looks.
Yes.
And so this guy's a great guy. To you, he's actually cute because you know his personality. But
Yeah.
if you really look at
If
him,
you're just physical.
which is what online dating is,
Yeah.
and we're making these quick judgments from someone's looks, and it's not great.
Do you recommend online dating, or how do you feel about it?
99% of my clients have found their guy online. But yeah, but they went out there with specific tools for doing that. And
Ah.
that quality man template that I teach women how to do is that comprehensive tool that takes you into, that helps you identify your old type, helps you
Yeah.
identify what you're looking for now, and
Brilliant.
helps you get really clear on values and deal breakers and the important things for finding a relationship. And that's
Hmm.
how women find it when they give men a chance. I tell them if a guy is nice, give him a chance. Give it a chance to
At
see
least.
if it'll grow. And that's the Doug story I've told, I told that's a perfect example of it. They're married now. She is really happy. And
Oh.
she knocked him out. He just happened to say, well, let's be friends. And she said, okay.
Yeah, but he was a fine enough person to see that. Even that in this story makes me go, "Oh, I kind of like him." Well, all right. Online dating is not taboo to you. You just think that
No.
you need to have a strong sense of yourself, be looking for the right things. Your template needs to be clean. You need to be clear what you would like in a partner and what works well with you. When I think of that, it reminds me that because we're midlife dating, many of us, I don't know if I could say most, but many of us will have older children and or be dating someone with older children. And from my own personal experience, I know a number of people who have struggled with, they really like person X, but the kids are an issue. How do you see that play out? And do you have tips?
Oh, I can see that play out. I've seen it. I think, yeah, you have to have a discussion with your kids. And
Mm.
I remember a guy once telling me he fell in love with this woman whose daughter talked the mom out of ever dating him again. So, and when I was dating,
Mm.
there were guys that my kids didn't like, and there were other guys they absolutely did like. So sometimes I think kids are trying to protect you.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's other issues too, especially when a mother has passed away and how you present all that. And you never want
Yes,
to try and be the kid's mother ever.
'cause you're
You can be
not.
their friend, that's it.
Mhm.
And it's, and I think this is an area sometimes where you have to work with a counselor, a therapist,
Mm.
something like that, to see what's beneath the kid's stuff. Is it protection or what is it? You
I
know?
love that. I love that. Well, so then, I think a lot of people think automatically we'll blend our families, we'll be the Brady Bunch,
Yeah.
right? And That's a lot trickier in particular if you got middle school or high school kids or someone who's usually listen, this is my experience. I'll speak from that. I have a dear friend who is a gorgeous, amazing, giving, kind human. She marries this lovely man and they're so happy. But his kids, who are out of high school age, just to frame it for you, 20s, their mother is bitter that the original marriage didn't work out. Consequently, they're not given space to learn to love and appreciate my friend who is trying with everything she has not to make up for their mom. She doesn't even believe that's possible, but just to be this, nice presence. But it's taken years,
It
years and
can.
years.
Yeah.
I mean, they got there. They got there. But uh, do you have any tips for navigating if there's some toxicity and a previous thing coming through?
This is something, like I said, I really think you have to work with a therapist or a counselor with, because it's that same people pleasing thing of we have to be accepted by everyone, or we want to be. We don't have to, we want to be.
Sure.
And it's like huge rejection. So I think we have to get ourselves work through our own issues before we can sometimes work out those other issues
Yeah.
with the kids. Doesn't mean the relationship has to stop because of it. It
Right.
just, you can have the relationship, but that's really out of my scope of expertise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that is more like a therapist kind of thing, because everyone's got their own stuff, and their
Sure.
own rejection feelings and their own betrayal feelings. And yeah, I think
And you got to
counseling's good.
just gauge it by that particular family or group.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that is more than fair. I'm wondering, the sort of the stereotype is that men are players. Do you find that to be true that there are just a large number of guys that just want what they can get for a while and then move on to the next bowl at the buffet? Or, I mean, I know there's a certain amount of that, but do you find the over 50 crowd, there's certainly a lot of that under 50. But does
Oh,
that
yeah.
continue? Do you see a lot of it over 50?
There will always be the bad boys, the players. I mean, they're just
Yep.
out there. And that's who women often want. And part of that is because verbally, they will say amazing things. They will put you on a pedestal. They will tell you things like, oh, I would never treat you this way. I would treat you this way, that way. They make you fall in love with them. And
Yep.
then what happens is they will often disappear at that point. The biggest key to a player is they have beautiful words, but their actions do not follow their words.
I love that. So it's very important that actions and languaging, that what is it, the video and the audio match.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And men are they're much more about action. Women are more about words. But
Yes.
men's way of showing you love is making you happy with their actions. But so many of us, we fall in love with a bad boy because of his words, and he hurts us because of his actions. They don't follow up.
I mean, what a great distinction. That is fantastic. Say it again. Say the actions and the words piece again, just so that we can rehear
We
it.
fall in love with a man's words, a bad boy's words,
Mm-hmm.
but his actions don't follow up what he's doing. And then we get hurt. And he'll usually
Mm-hmm.
leave because he's on to the next conquest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, he'll come back. A
Wow.
lot of times they come back and then they leave again,
Wow.
and they will hurt you over and over until you finally set a boundary of my heart can't do this
I
anymore.
cannot. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is not what I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah. Gosh.
That's the quickest
Wow.
way to identify. But what happens if you get the chemistry in there? And by the way, that's when chemistry and lust get mixed up. That's when heart connection gets mixed up. because they will spend a lot of time talking to you, but they don't do anything. They
At
just those
all.
act. They'll end up, maybe you have a date, they don't show, or they're late, or those kinds of things. A really good guy has actions that follow his words, and men are wired to really want to make you happy. Good guys,
I,
not talking
we
narcissists.
forget that, I think. When you
Hmm.
get in the thick of it, you start becoming cynical. Oh, that's all they want. There's sort of that uh overgeneralization. They're not let me ask this, because this question came up so many times among single women, and I said, I'm going to interview her. What should I ask? And a lot of times they said, there seems to be a huge emphasis on a woman's body and weight. Do you find that in what you're hearing from women? And if you do or do not, is there a way that we could look at that would serve us better?
I think, I think it is an issue. But go look at Pierce Bronson. He's married to a woman that is not a twin,
Yes,
and she's
Keely.
beautiful. Yeah, and look how she has been just hammered by people. So men love women like we love men of different shapes and sizes. We don't all love the same thing. And the
True
key is
that.
really to love yourself and want a partner that loves you just the way you are. And
Yes.
stop worrying about the guys that aren't going to like you the way you are, because they're not a good fit for you. But we still go after them. And that's how we get hurt. And that's why women say there's no one out there to date. So it
Yes.
doesn't mean you're settling. The real key of settling, you settle when you break your deal breakers. You let a guy in your life who has a deal breaker. And
Yeah.
when you're looking for the wrong things, you want to
Yeah.
be looking for those values that match. Because in the beginning, we're looking for romance and Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, falling in love, putting the glass slipper on. That doesn't last.
Mm-mm. It
What
really does
lasts, no,
not.
what lasts is the kindness you have for each other, the love, the
The
being there for each
respect.
other, the cherishing of each other, the ability to live life and work it out together. And that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with looks, chemistry, any of that. It has to do, this is why I always say, look for the heart connection with someone that
Mm.
shares your values
Yeah.
and loves you just how you are.
And loves you as you are. And, the
Yeah.
other piece, I've noticed this a fair amount with single friends. There is a lot of talk about, does he like me? Does he see me? Does he, how does he feel about my weight, my age, blah, blah, blah. And I think what I always want to say is, I wish I could hear a little, she'll tell me, I really like him. He does this, this, and this for me, da, da, da. And I always say the same thing back. And what do you do for him? Because
Yeah.
part of a good relationship is that you show up with your best self to love and to care for. That there
Right.
be a 50, I don't know if it's 50-50. It probably 50-50 is probably a generous, but you both got to be giving the best of who you are to create the healthy relationship that you want. Because I don't know a single woman who wants to wake up at 72 and find out that the relationship she got into in her 50s or her 60s is sayonara gone.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
if
happens.
yeah, short of nature taking you, the way that lasts and goes longer, and that you are happy in the story, is that you choose someone who loves you as well as you love them. That's
Yeah.
right.
And I always say to women, when you're looking for a relationship, there's a triangle. At the bottom of the triangle, like if you imagine this, okay, so see the triangle.
I see the
Down
triangle.
here is you, down here is him, and up here is the relationship. There's
Mm,
three entities in a relationship, and we really a lot of times only make it about ourselves.
yeah.
And I had someone who's really wise that's been in a long relationship, and I said to her, "What do you think made it?" And she says, "Well, every year, at the beginning of the year, we each create a list of what we would really like the other person to
Mm,
give to us. And then They sit down and they talk about it. And now, here's where you have to be careful about demanding.
About
It
that
has
list.
has to look that way. And they talk about what they feel they can give the other one, because I think you hit on the point so well. It's like, Prince Charming will swoop me off my feet, pay for everything, and we'll never argue. I was looking to him to do it all. What
Yes.
was I doing in
What are
there?
you doing? Yeah. I
Right.
meet a I meet a lot of women who cross 50 and they figure out that it's okay to ask for what they want and to want to definitely be a fully realized person in the relationship, but they're so busy learning about that they forgot. Wait, you have to give as much as he gives, or you've got an imbalance. Over time, that imbalance is not going to play out well. There must be mutuality of respect and of care and all the things. And I think most women really that is what they were wanting. But it just seems from what you're saying, it's wise to be mindful of that and not do what we did in our 20s, which was harebrained, follow whatever feeling hit us
Right.
and follow. First of all, we wouldn't be sitting where we were sitting wanting to date had that panned out well. Right.
The other part, though, a lot of women overgive in a relationship, which
Yes.
trains a man. First of all, well, it trains a man to stop giving, and we overgive because we want something back. We're
Yes,
not
it's
usually doing it from our
manipulation.
heart. Yeah, but we do it. We don't realize it.
We
It took
don't
me a lot.
realize it.
Yeah,
No.
we don't. Or we think we're being really great. We were taught to nurture and take care of everyone. We burn out over
Yeah.
giving. So it's
Yes.
really important also to learn to receive, because you train someone to stop
Amen.
giving to you if you're the one always giving. So it's
Amen.
like it's never going to be equal. But you want
Mm,
to, and you have to, both of you, like when you come together, for example, with that list, you're giving from your heart what you really feel you can give. You're
yeah.
not giving for an agenda of you're going to love me more, you're going to make time for me if I take this off your
Right. You
shoulders.
won't leave me.
Yeah, or that's a neediness. And yeah, you're giving because you want to do it from your heart. And you know it'll
Yes.
make them happy. And then, but this is the hardest part, receive from them. We have this
Yes.
dream of Prince Charming and all that, but then when I would get into the relationship, I would overgive, so he would be there, and it doesn't work. It just
Right.
doesn't work.
So it's almost like if you want to play the numbers, if you want to have the best shot at a really good midlife brand new chapter and have a relationship and have the companionship that you've been looking for, you need to be aware of what you're actually wanting, of be honest about who this person is that you're looking at and considering, and not choose from a place of desperation on any level.
Yeah. And being clear what you want has to be more than I'll spot it when I get there. No,
Yeah.
it
No.
takes time to get to know someone. And there are
Yes.
great guys out there. There really are, but we just knock them out really fast because they're not hot, or we found all their faults that we think. And the
Yeah.
interesting thing is, as women, we fall in love with men's potential. Men fall in love with us, the real us, but
Yes.
we fall in love with their potential. And that's what gets you screwed up too.
Yeah.
Because you either gotta love someone for who they are or
For
just
who they
move
are.
on.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
And you want someone to love you for who you are.
I think a lot about that, about women that I know right now that are dating men, and generally in the less than 5 years range is what I'm thinking of. I have several friends, and they spend more energy than I could imagine thinking how they can get him to change and
Right.
get closer to what they imagine is his potential. And I always say to them, dude, it's not a problem until it's his problem. Do you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
he doesn't see it as a problem, he is not going to work on it, first of all. And you've created an agenda and you're trying to convince him to be someone that he is not or doesn't want to be. And the flip side of that is, and I have said this to friends, I got to tell you, baby, if I were his best friend,
Mhm.
I would say don't stay with her because she doesn't like you. She likes who she wants you to be.
Right. That's
Well,
women falling
that's
in
not
love with men.
nice.
Well, it's women falling in love with men's potential.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
oftentimes we'll take a fixer up kind of guy and just start changing them
Yeah.
because that guy we think of as a reflection on ourselves. So he better have on the right clothes, he better have on the right
Yes.
whatever. But it's
Yes.
really who's that guy underneath? His clothes,
Yes.
that's easy stuff if he wants to. The guys will probably change because it makes you happy, his
Sure.
clothes.
Sure.
But if you're trying to change personality traits, that just doesn't work. And
Yeah.
and then what happens is the man says, "I'm out because I'll never, you'll never appreciate me, and also I'm not enough for you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never make you happy."
You know what I keep thinking is if we were to be pragmatic about this, the guy that you probably want is the guy that's going to hold your hand before they take you in for the colonoscopy. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And
It's
he'll wait
true.
and then take you home. We decline over time. Consequently, we're going to need to depend on this person and they on us in ways that are not as glamorous as they were when we were younger. So, if you're dating over 50, you got to start thinking, is this somebody who's going to, and you want longevity? Not everybody wants longevity, but you've got to know that someone is solid and uh, kind and respectful to be able to do the work of life as there's physical decline, because there just will be.
Yeah, but that
I
gets into
realize
a
that's
whole
crazy
other.
pragmatic. Yeah.
No, it gets into another issue where women say, "I don't want to be someone's nurse or purse."
Yeah.
And I think we have some unrealistic expectations from mating when we were younger and everybody was pretty healthy
Yep.
to today. I don't know that I want to commit to this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Nope, you can have just a boyfriend. You can have, but it is, if it's a relationship and you want a long-term relationship, you do want someone who would be there for you and you do need to be there for them. But that comes back to that quality man template I talk about, and that is get clear on health issues, get clear on sexual issues. Stuff comes up. Get clear
Love
on
that.
all these things. Not does he, he loves to play pickleball or he likes movies or
Yeah.
that's all negotiable stuff. Get clear
Right.
on those values. And because we don't think of that, we don't see ourselves as aging.
I
So,
love that. I love that. And so if you find yourself having found a couple of people, because it sounds to me like you're not opposed to online, that frankly, even in this day and age, most people over 50 are finding someone in that environment. If you find yourself a few times in a row getting a player or somebody that's ghosting, or it seems like it's going so well and then not at all, that pattern, does that say anything to you? Like, what are you
well,
thinking
that's
when I
the
tell you that?
pattern. Remember, I mentioned the pattern chart. So you do want to look at what am I so attracted to in this person? And it's the same pattern that happens. They ghost, they're out. And that's what you have to look at is to see, oh, what am I looking for? Because I guarantee there's something similar with each of them that
Yeah.
you haven't, that is your attraction factor with the guy.
Yeah. I think 100% on that. I love that your focus. I think there were a lot of people that were asking me questions and they were all on the surface of what do you find and how you do this. And it's all about acquisition. But really, unless you just want dating, and that's fine too, no judgment there. But most of the women that I'm talking to, they don't want to just date. They want a companion and they don't want to be alone. They want someone maybe who will travel with them or who will go to social events with them.
Yeah.
And they were, I did have one girlfriend say, at this age, I'm actually meeting guys that occasionally I make more than they do. Do you have any counsel about how I think about that or how I navigate that? Are you hearing any of that in what you do?
It happens. Yeah. I mean, but we grew up in a paradigm of the man should be the breadwinner and all that. But everybody can contribute in their own ways. And it is finding what works for the two of you. I mean, someone that has no income is a big deal. That
Red
puts you
flag.
as a sugar mama.
Yeah.
And
If
yeah,
he's
but
on your
working,
couch, bad.
but you can work that stuff you can work through.
Yes.
And that also has to do with the value. Like, so maybe if success is a value that's important to you, he may be very successful in this field. Only, let's say if they're a teacher and it has there's a cap on that at some
Right.
point.
Right.
So it's, I think we get really unrealistic with stuff, and it goes back to Prince Charming swooping us off our feet, paying
Yes.
for everything, and we don't argue. It
Yes.
goes back to that, and
Yes.
you can change the paradigm, and you can still make it work, and you could but you have to figure that out. And that could be a great guy for you because he's really there for you, whereas a guy
Right.
who's working 80 hours a week may not be there for you.
Right.
Well, you may go to great restaurants, but emotionally, he's not there for you. And it's lonely. So it's just getting clarity.
Yeah. And just being clear on what you need and what you want. And I love that you have last question, because this was asked me, and we can wrap from here, but this was asked me, so I have to ask you. She
Sure.
said, I'm dating this guy. I think we might be getting to be moving towards something more serious. How do you think, do you have any counsel on this? Thinking about combining finances or homes or the life together in that way.
So, yeah, if you're going to be exclusive, you have to make those decisions, but you do not have to combine money. That's a paradigm also from when you first started out. You
Yes.
can create a joint account where you both pay for different things. These are just things you have to work out unless you're in, I want Prince Charming to swoop me up, pay for
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
But there's just, I think the biggest thing is opening to possibilities. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be how our parents had it or how we had it from when we were younger.
I love that.
And, a man or a woman may have commitments to their other family, financial commitments. And so you combine a determined resource. You don't have to combine your assets. You should get a prenup for assets, by the way. Don't get into a second marriage without a prenup.
Okay.
And
Duly
I mean,
noted.
there's protection things, and that you can talk to a lawyer about. That's, a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great if they're moving that way. Sure, you got to look at all of it. You have to be honest with each other,
Well, open
and
communication. Let's
yeah,
have the
that is.
conversation, and before we get into it,
Yes,
you know.
too far along. Yeah, you have to
Yes.
see, and that will come down to those values. Do
That's
we spend
amazing.
money the same way? And because, you're used to spending money your way, you don't want some guy telling you, no, you can't spend your money this way. It's not, we don't need a daddy, but
No.
someone,
Well,
well, yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
just going to name this episode that we don't need a daddy.
No, I think it's Prince Charming.
We don't need Prince Charming. No, we don't need to be swept off our feet. We're okay with that now, but we would like a reasonable, loving, kind, companionable partner, you know?
And I will tell you one of the biggest things that turns men off. Men
Please.
appreciate your strength. Men appreciate your intelligence, emotionally healthy men. They appreciate all that. What they don't appreciate is the demands we make on them, of telling them how to do things, where to do, when to do,
Mm,
why to do, and just not letting them be a man.
yeah.
And we don't want them telling us what to do, although we will
Right.
people please them to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we can become pretty demanding, and that is one of
Yeah.
the biggest turnoffs for men. women will write in their profiles, to date me, you have to be able to take me to five-star restaurants. We need to be going to here and to there, whatever. And men go, they don't even know you. And they'll go next, they go left. Yeah, they
Yeah.
swipe you
But
left.
who you get is, good Lord, who answers yes to that? You cannot be fishing in a great pool if you start out with, I'm not going to respect you. Rather, I'm going to treat you like you served me. You
Right.
you automatically aren't in a lovely pool of options. And so you know what I heard you saying earlier, and we'll wrap up with this, is
Mm.
that there are good men out there, and there
There
are
are.
good women out there, and there is potential for love, for companionship, for support, for mutual respect. Um, when we're thoughtful and honest and decent, am I hearing you correctly? What would you say in sort of an overview of it?
It's just giving really nice men a chance and who match your values. Like, um, if you have to match values. There's nothing wrong with anyone. The key is we're going in there looking for the wrong things.
Yeah.
And it's your values. And when you're looking at life from different ways, that is not a partner for you.
Yeah.
If, like I mentioned, the success, if you're with someone that doesn't really care about success and that's important to you,
Mhm.
that is I'm not talking about a cap of salary. I'm talking about they just, or maybe work today, maybe not tomorrow, and you're very into success. That's going to create tremendous drama in a relationship. You want to live life with similar values.
Yes.
And you want to give nice men a chance. And you want to be careful swiping left to all these guys that aren't hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
and
What about politics or religion automatically cutting people out because of one of those two things? Do you run into any of that
oh
when
yeah.
you're talking?
Well, when someone is extreme one way or the other, especially, we definitely, I tell them, You need to put it in your profile." That they do
Oh,
because they're wasting
good.
time with
Yes.
someone who's too opposite of them, and that will probably create conflict. You can be opposite politically, but if you're both sort of in the middle, that can
Yeah,
work.
you'll
But
find
if
common
you're
ground.
yeah, well, you'll find common ground, but if it's very hard to do if you're extremes. Same with
It's true.
religions.
Yep.
That's if it is a must have, then you have to put that in your profile because why have these people write to you who are just totally opposite of you?
Right. Who
Yeah,
are absolutely, who you would not tolerate for whatever reason.
right.
Just put that out. I like that. Although we would say James Carville and Mary Madeline married 30 whatever years now. And he used to, he was initially with the Clinton administration and she was with George W. Bush, so, or HW, I guess. And they're still together and there is great love. So if the
Much larger
values
extremes.
match,
Yeah, and much larger extremes today.
yes,
That was mild compared to today.
compared to
And
some of the
so,
stuff today. Yes.
yeah.
And you need to be frank with yourself if you hold such strong views that you are unable to countenance goodness on the other side. Your business, how you look at it. But if that is truly where you come from, I love that you say, go ahead, put it in your profile, and then you'll automatically begin to get a better, feedback on who you're looking for.
But there's a way to put it in your profile. But also the other thing, and I want to leave with this, is there is such a thing as meeting men in real life. And the advantage of meeting men in real life is oftentimes you share interests, this could be someone you'd swipe left on, who in real life you see their personality and they're great.
Hmm.
So talk to people when you're out and about,
Don't
just,
forget that. Don't get so focused
yeah.
on the computer. Oh, what great
Yeah, talk
advice.
to people and you never know who knows somebody. And people say nobody knows anyone to fix me up, but that's true. Most married people don't. But you keep telling them, like every
Yes.
couple times a year, people forget. You're not in their world all the time. We think people
Yeah.
focus on us. They don't. They're focusing on
Maybe
themselves.
not as much as we were thinking. Yeah, I love that because you might as well use your lifelines. And there is
Yeah.
something really powerful about seeing somebody in 3D, even if you just bumped into them in the grocery store in the vegetable aisle and start
Right.
talking broccoli. You could end up someplace. Get a little braver about
Yeah.
connection in real life. Oh, I love that.
I
Maybe
had a
analog is good for this.
I had a client meet her guy at the license bureau, her husband. They got
Oh.
married. It can happen
I
anywhere.
know somebody who did that too. No
Yeah.
kidding. They both had Mustangs. They started talking. Wow.
These two rode motorcycles. They were getting
See?
motorcycle licenses.
That's
Yeah, I mean, you
wonderful.
can have a lot of things in common when you meet people in real life, but there's
Yeah.
a skill to it, and for flirting, and it's learning how to flirt again and all these other
All
things.
the things.
But I
Now, is that the kind of thing I can get some support with through some of your resources on your website or with your programs?
Absolutely. In my programs, they're comprehensive. I have a wonderful group
I know
program.
you do. You have great programs. I'm so excited to offer these. I'm going to put your programs and totally how people can contact you and reach out
Sure.
to you through social. Your social media is really fun. So I'm going to put all of those resources on the website. But the primary website, if they're just listening because they're driving
Sure.
right now, where would you send them
Yeah.
to?
It's findaqualityman.com. Very
Isn't that
simple.
such a great title?
Findaqualityman.com. Because that's what everybody's looking for is a
Yes.
quality man. So, yeah, but you can look, there's tons of stuff on there. I'm on YouTube also. The thing I do want to say though is be careful of getting a lot of information and not knowing what to do with it.
Oh, just
And
the
that's
overwhelm.
the that's the biggest way that I coach women is I give them specific information for them to because you can collect information forever and not use it. It can go on your computer and you never open it ever again. You think, oh yeah, I'll
Right.
get this, and you don't do anything with it. And it's taking action.
I
That's the
love
biggest
that.
thing that's going to get you out there dating.
Yeah. My friend always says, and there's a lot of ways to language it, but she always says that spirit, God, however you want to think of that,
Yeah.
meets us at the point of action. So just to
Yep.
go look at your site, to begin to, your book is on Amazon. It's easy to get. You're obviously well spoken, easy to listen to and to read. You have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So, which I personally thought was terrific. Listen, for those of you who are listening and who are single, Lisa's a wonderful resource. And if you're not, but you got a girlfriend who is, I think we got your girl. Lisa, I do want to ask this one question I realized I did not ask. You
Sure.
specifically support women seeking men. Is this correct?
Yeah.
That's your
Yes.
specialty.
Yes.
Okay.
Women over
There are
50
lots of
seeking
good
men.
options for lots of things, but we want to be clear that's with this particular, if that's your particular need, this is a wonderful place to look, is to findaqualityman.com. Thank you so much.
Not to, but not to find a, it's just
Not to
findaqualityman.com.
not to
So,
findaqualityman.com. I find myself very grateful that you are out there thinking about this part of life and dispensing wisdom that can actually um, bring so much joy and connection and hope to women who may have come through something tough to get to this season in their life. And I just want you to know, Lisa Copeland, I am rooting for you and I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
thank you, Tammy.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Lisa Copeland talking about love over 50 and about dating, specifically women dating for men over 50. Lisa just has wise, solid counsel that leads to women finding relationships that they want, getting through the clutter, getting clear who they are, knowing what their values are, knowing to look for that and to put away maybe some of the things that were attractive when we were in our 20s. We don't need to create families anymore, but we need somebody who's going to share our interests and be our companion and be that treasured, close best friend who lives with us, perhaps. That's your goal. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Butterfly Days. If you have questions or you want to tell me your thoughts, please feel free to do so. You can go to TamiJorden.com. That's TamiJorden.com and let me know, or you can do it on the Substack. I appreciate you, and I hope that you find love in life, however that is best for you. I'm so grateful you listened to this episode. I hope it was a real value to you. If there's a sister in your life who needs this message, please share it, just like women have done to lift each other up over the centuries and across cultures. Women lifting each other is so important. It's why I do this work. And to avoid FOMO and keep up leveling your own life, make sure you don't miss the next episode. You may be losing hormones, but your life has given you powerful perspective. And I believe you have something to give that no one else does, that the world needs. So remember, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.